This image captures a further episode in Northern Ireland's 1968. It shows a large gathering headed up by the leaders of the various bodies affiliated with the Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association crossing Londonderry's Craigavon Bridge on the 16th of November 1968. This march came off the back of and was in response to mounting tensions in the period following the 5th of October march in the city. The fact that some marchers were able to cross the bridge, coupled with the sheer size of the cortege, helps explain the significance of this moment.
Well, we had to have the confrontation on Duke Street. We had all sorts of meetings to make up our minds how we were going to approach this. There was a great deal of tension in the city at that time, and everybody was asking how this was all going to be played out. Now, I've told you about, we had this ceremonial breaking of the barrier, but something more important happened after that. Every shirt factory in Derry, the girls came stumbling out and marched for civil rights. So my shirt factory, they came out. The whole city was marching. The whole city was involved in civil rights.
That demonstrated to me what peaceful protests could do. That was very carefully marshalled. It was a very good piece of political choreography, where these huge numbers were coming across the Craigavon Bridge, and you'd get the respectable leadership in the front, and the respectable leadership went across the barricades. The police knew that they couldn't hold these numbers, and I assume there was some understanding that this is what was going to happen. But it sort of reinforced my sense that you could get political reform through peaceful means.
They were obviously in discussions with the police on how to handle the situation so that it would not break down into violence. So my memory is that there was a stage-managed breach of the barrier by some of the committee, and that aspect of it passed off peacefully. And that's the kind of conflict management that you tend to get now, even in Northern Ireland today. You know, you try to negotiate between the police and marchers, or you try and have communities who are objecting to the activities of other communities talking with each other and so on. So that's probably the earliest example of deals being done in order to prevent masses of people ending up in conflict with the authorities. But yet the point is made.
Well, there had been differences of opinion as on the first Civil Rights March in Derry. The radicals had been in favour of confrontation, and the majority were not. And after the events of the 5th of October, there was a meeting, I think largely called by John Hume, and the radicals were really moved out. That was extremely important because it was obvious who was in control, and it was also disciplined.
The march of the 16th of November had changed dramatically. The whole scene had changed dramatically. Here now I could see people who I knew before had never been political, people who would never have been involved, people who, from every walk of life. I mean, I can remember on a personal basis, you know, I can remember my mother and father being scared of me being involved. But I can remember now on the 16th of November, they weren't scared of me being involved, you know, and my father was involved, you know, my brother was there, who wouldn't have been there on the 5th of October, you know, and that whole family element of people who decided, no, we're going for this.
It appeared to the Unionist community that the nationalist community were becoming more cohesive, more organised and more efficient at getting numbers on the streets. So for many in the Unionist community, this was another example of the IRA, this time using methods that we then subsequently saw in the likes of Paris and America with Martin Luther King, etc. And in the Unionist community, they had determined, in my view, with some just cause, that this was a recreation in a much more non-violent way initially of the IRA campaign to try and destabilise the state rather than a demand for social justice.
It was the realisation that the state's power to pen us into the kind of limited paddock that they wanted to keep the Irish national community in, that their power to do that was not as great as they thought, that we could break through, break out, assert ourselves in our own streets, our own towns, and that they couldn't really stop us doing that, you know. That's not to say that we sort of got the sense that we're winning here, we're going to win, but that we could get onto the playing surface and that we could engage the authorities in a way that they couldn't stop, that we could attract the attention of the world.
Well, I always had a concern about the civil rights movement. I mean, that concern never left me. As a group or organisation, to a degree, to me, it ebbed and flowed. But that can be expected in such a loose type, or seemingly loose type, of organisation as the civil rights. And it appeared a loose, all things to all men, that's what the preaching was, but the content was a different matter altogether.